Hello folks, welcome back to the session of Model 5 Functions and Modular Thinking in your Python Foundations course. So far you have written your own functions, but Python already provides many powerful built-in functions that make your work easier. So you just need to know when and how to use them. So in this session, you'll explore the built-in functions like map, filter, len, sorted, and much more. And we'll also understand how to combine these custom functions. And finally, it's also built in function-based calculator as your hands-on mini project. Now, what is length? LEN, we should have used this length in many different places earlier. So the length is the default function which helps us to get the length of a sequence. For example, I'm going to have names is equal to Arav, let's take the same name, Divya and Meera. Alright, now I'm going to print length of the names. So there are three names that's present inside this list: Arav, Divya and Meera. So the moment I use this length function, I'm getting three names here. Now let's use sorted. I'm going to take marks is equal to 45, 78, 66 and 91. So these are the marks that I've stored inside this list name marks. Now let's print sorted marks. Let's sort it. Right, so when I use this default function sorted, the 45, 66, 78 and 91. So this is this basic functionality to do an ascending order sort. Ascending. Now what happens if you ask me how to make a descending order sort? I'm going to make use of the same sorted of marks, right? So and then comma, reverse is equal to true. Right? The moment I give reverse is equal to true, this becomes descending order. This becomes descending. Right? 91, 78, 66 and 45. Now let's make use of map function. So what is map? How to apply a function at all the items that we have in a list or a series or let it be in any different data frames. I have a function named square. It also has a variable x. I'm going to return x star x. Okay, I'm going to return x star x. Now I have numbers 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now I'm going to take map of what is that function that I need to perform? The square, comma, the numbers that's present in a list. So if I'm going to run this, what will it throw? This will return a map object. Right? So this is a map object which needs to be converted to a list. Right? Or it should be looped through to see the results. This is a map object. I need to convert it to list. Therefore, 1 is taken here. The square, 1 square is 1, 2 square is 4, 3 square is 9, 4 square is 16. Right? So the map is a built-in function that lets you apply apply another function to every time in a sequence. Like a list or a tuple. Okay? All in one line, in a single line. Right? So the map is a built-in function that lets you apply another function to every item that I have here, to every item in a sequence, like a list or tuple, all in one line. So it's part of Python's functional programming tools. Alongside you have your filter and you have your reduce. So this map has some functions and iterable. Right? So if I'm going to write an function, so map is an function, comma, iterable. Function, comma, iterable. So a function that takes only one single input and returns a value. And I'm going to pass it through an iterable. So iterable is nothing but a list or a tuple or any sequence that you want to process. So once I give this map of this function and this iterable, what will it return? It's going to return a map object which needs to be converted to a list. Right? So or loop through to see the results. That's what we are seeing here. Now how can we achieve the same using a lambda function? Right? So I'm going to have map lambda x star x, comma, nums. Right? So and then I'm going to put list of x star x. So these are the numbers right? So I've put an anonymous function. So this was a defined function. I've used a lambda, an anonymous function, which can take every time in a loop, right? So there's an iterable, right? So what happens in this nums? 1 square, 2 square, 3 square, and then 4 square. So and we are going to create it as an list. We can store it inside an object squares, and then let's print squares, right? So 1, 4, 9, and 16, right? So this is a fantastic understanding how a map function works. So this map, in other words, to summarize, this applies in function. This runs the same logic on every single element. We have a logic, it's going to be applied in every single element, right? So, and this is fast and memory efficient, right? So this returns in generator like object, map object, we have seen, right? So this is going to return a map like an object. I have to use it within list to convert the result into a list. And this map works fantastic with lambda. For a quick throwaway logic, lambda does some magic, right? So this doesn't change the original list, this just creates a new list, right? So the map is ideal when you need to apply the same operation to every item in a list, right? So it keeps your code clean, concise, and functional. So this is best used when you want to transform data without manually writing any loop. Now let's understand filter. What is filter? So a filter function is used to filter out or keep only those items from an iterable that meet a certain condition, right? So I have a certain condition that's met. I'm going to keep only those specific items defined by a function, right? So think of it like a sieve, right? So it passes through only the items that returns true when checked by our function. Now what's the basic syntax of this filter? Filter will have a function, an iterable, right? So this has a function and an iterable. So this function, right? So this returns either true or false. What is this iterable? This is a list, a tuple, or any other sequences. Now this filter will return a filter object, like similarly for map, right? So we had a map object. Similarly here, this filter will return a filter object, which you need to convert it to a list or iterate over to see the output. Now firstly, let's take an example. df is even x. Now let's return x mod 2 double equal to 0. Is even, right? So is even, it's going to return if at all that value true, right? So nums, what are the different numbers? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now look at this carefully. I'll use filter. What is the function? Is even, comma, in list, right? So is even and this list. When I run this filter, this will return a filter object, like how we have seen for the map, it will return a map object. For filter, it will return a filter object, right? So I'm going to put it in a bracket, convert it to list. So list of this, right? So 1 mod 2 is equal to 1, therefore this is not true, this is false, right? So 2 mod 2 is 0, that is true, therefore it's printing. So 4 mod 2 is true, therefore it's returning, right? So is even is the function, right? I'm going to put list of filter of is even and nums, right? So that's what we are seeing here. Right, so how can I do the same using lambda in a smarter way? I have nums 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now I'm going to put filter lambda x mod 2 is equal to 0, comma numbers. Right, so this will return what? In filter object. How will I convert this filter object to any data type? Put a list of this. So 2, 4, 6, and 8. So these are the even numbers, right? So that I filtered using this lambda function, right? So this lambda functions make filter even more powerful and even for quick filtering, right? So this can go on with various different examples. Now let's understand reduce. So what is reduce? Reduce a list to a single value. So the reduce is a function that takes a sequence of values and reduce it to a single value by repeatedly applying a function that takes 2 arguments. So when will I use it? It's often used for summing numbers, multiplying values, finding maximum minimum, combining items cumulatively. So where is reduce? So unlike map, filter, reduce is in the function tools modules. So from function tools, I need to import reduce. Right now, what is the basic syntax? Reduce. What is the basic syntax here? So it's the reduce function comma iterable. Reduce comma iterable. So function comma iterable. So a function that takes 2 inputs. Iterable is a list, a tuple, etc. So the reduce applies the function cumulatively to the items. Let's take an example. Now let's take numbers 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now let's do the reduce. Lambda a comma b is a plus b comma the numbers. What is the total here? I'm going to give it as total, and then let's print total. Right, so the lambda a comma b, whatever that I'm passing values here. So 1 comma 2 will be a will be 1. Right, so b will be 2. Right, so a plus b. In iteration, this is going to go, right? So again, the a will become 3 and b will become 3 again. 3 plus 3, 6. And a will become 6 and b will become 4. Right? 6 plus 4 is 10. So that's how this reduce function works. Right? Similarly, the product, maximum numbers, concatenation, everything will happen in the same way. Right? Now, let's understand what is the sum, max, and min functions do by default. Let's say I have this numbers. I need to find the max. Right? So first I need to find the sum of all the numbers. Sum of numbers will add up all the value. Right? So similarly, print what else? Max of the list will return the maximum out of this list. Similarly, print minimum of numbers will return the minimum value here. Right, so that's how we'll be using the sum, max and min functions in an logic. Right, so yes, so we have seen various different functions. So starting from map, filter, length, sorted, and a few default functions like sum, max and min. So in next forthcoming session, let's take a function based calculator and complete this specific module. Thank you.